Data as part of a marketing strategy really has three different purposes. Number one is a baseline goal setting, KPI, and I think that's sort of how most people think of data traditionally. Number two, though, is something slightly more advanced, which I consider insights around data. So this is using data to find out why your customers care about your product, why people are reading the content that you're putting out there, and not necessarily replicating it, but using it to create something new. And that's where number three comes in, which is inspiration. Data can be a source of creativity, and I think a lot of people overlook that when they're just looking at sort of goal setting or what the status quo is with data. Data informs creativity because data is a representation of our work, and so it's also a representation of us. And as marketers, we really thrive when we're being creative. So diving into data feels very maybe mathematical and analytical, but actually some of the best campaigns, often when you hear people talk about them, the very first thing they say is something along the lines of, well, we realized that our most loyal customers were XYZ, so then we made this campaign. And that's always when people win awards or when brands actually get people to buy things. And so I think that's something that is often true of these great campaigns, but sometimes overlooked and not often talked about. My biggest advice for marketers looking to use data is to not just look at it at the end. A lot of people look back at data as a retroactive, informative how their campaign went, and that's important, it should be done, but I advise that people look ahead of time. So whether that's to get the insights, to get the inspiration, or even just to set some goals to sort of know what to expect. A lot of brands use data in one way, a lot of publishers use data in another, and I think there's a huge potential for overlap between the two. So I'd love to see more brands adopt metrics that publishers use, and I'd love to see publishers adopt metrics that brands use. Publishers and brands should be learning a lot from each other to do native advertising. Brands really need to be learning about the data around audiences and what makes them engaged and what keeps them interested and how to grow new audiences. Also, what makes them loyal customers. Publishers, on the other hand, need to learn about data from brands in terms of who's buying, what makes them buy, what makes them loyal customers. They not just need to do this for native advertising, I think they both need to be doing this for their own business models. Publishers are going to be needing subscribers in the future over just ad products, and that's going to be something that's really important down the line. Data is incredibly challenging. There's no two ways about it. One of the reasons it's so challenging is because there's so much of it, and so it can feel like an insurmountable obstacle to overcome, and so some people's response to that is to shut it out. And the trick to it, if you might want to call it a trick, is to just have some focus and pick what feels manageable at first, and then grow from there. Often, again, when you hear about campaigns that win awards or data practices at companies, they talk about it all at once, but they're programs that have been built over months or years even. And so, don't expect to have that light switch turn on overnight. Expect to put some work in and expect to make it a cultural change, not just a software or process change. When someone in leadership or someone with a project says, we're all going to adopt this and this is why, and here's what's going to matter for you, people respond. We've seen this at Time Inc. They really took a top-down change, and their leadership said, you know what, as a digital platform, not just a print platform, we're going to need to adopt data across every single reporter, editor, author, and we're going to use it as a strategy, not just something to look at. That really started to make some changes. And I think people underestimate how much leadership is involved in that and how important it is to get the job done.